Good morning, children. How are you all? Hope you're all fine at home. Now, these days, you're learning things or acquiring knowledge on an online platform, isn't it, children? So, when you are watching the videos, you may get a doubt. So, how do you express your doubt? Yes, you are right. You express the doubt in the form of a question. So, you want to know the answer for that question. So how do you know the answer? So to whom do you ask that particular question? So you will be asking that question to a person to whom you feel that they are well versed in that particular topic, or whom you think that they know that particular subject. So in that way you will get the answer from them, isn't it? So after acquiring the answer or after getting that answer, you will acquire the knowledge and you will be well versed to get through the competition or well versed to be succeeded in your career. So now here we have a lesson written by Leo Tolstoy. The name of the lesson is Three Questions. Here in this lesson we come across a certain king who wants to know, who has some questions, who has three questions, and he wants to seek answers for these three questions. So in this lesson we'll see what are those three questions, to whom does he ask, whether he acquires the correct knowledge for those three questions or not, we'll see in this lesson. So before we read the lesson, let us know about the author, that is Leo Tolstoy, who has written this lesson, Three Questions. Leo Tolstoy was born on 9th September 1828. He was a Russian writer. He was regarded as one of the greatest authors of all time. And he was an essayist, novelist, and also a short story writer. He was well known for a notable work, that is War and Peace. And finally, in the year 1910, on November 20th, he left every one of us. Now, let us read the lesson. Open your textbook to page number 7. Three questions. So here a king has three questions and he is seeking answers to them. What are the questions? Does the king get what he wants? Okay, now let us see it. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? So here, once there was a certain king and he had some questions in his mind. He had three questions in his mind. He thought that if he seeks the answer for these three questions, he will never fail in his life. So what are the three questions? The first question is, what is the right time to begin something? And the second one is, which people he should listen to? Third one is, what is the most important thing for him to do it? So these are the three questions which the king had, and he wanted to know the answer for these three questions. So let us see how he will seek the answers and who is going to tell him the answers. The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these three questions. So now the king, you all know that the king has messengers, that is, who send the message, and he has informed the messengers to go through the world, throughout his kingdom. Throughout his kingdom is all around the kingdom. He had sent the messengers and he wanted them to inform the people about these three questions, and whoever tells the correct answer for them, they are going to get a large sum of money. Okay. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. So wise men refers to who have the knowledge. So people who have knowledge, they all came and they told the answers for these three questions. But all the answers were different in reply to the first questions. Now first we'll see what is the reply for the question. So before that, what is the first question? What is the right time to begin something? So what is the right time to begin any action? So in reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way, they said, could he do everything at its proper time. So in reply to the first question, the wise people who came, they said that first the king has to make a proper timetable and he should go according to that timetable. then only he can do the things well and at proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. So some other persons who came, they said that how can you decide that tomorrow's work, how can you decide in advance what is the right time? So that was the opinion of some other people. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So here the king, he found the answers which given by the people were different, and he has avoided that, and whatever he felt to be done at proper time, that he had done it. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. So here we come across a new word, that is council. Council means group of people chosen to give advice or to make rules. So some people, some wise men, they said that council of ministers must be there so that they will decide the things and they will inform to the king. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others, the right time for every action. So why council of ministers must be there? Because only king is the only one. So it will be very difficult for the king to find out the things or to do all the things. So the council of ministers who are there, they will help him to help him by informing him what has to be done and at what time. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. So some other people said that there are certain things which have to be done immediately. So when the things which have to be done immediately, if they put that particular question to the council of ministers, it will take a lot of time. So certain urgent things, certain things which have to be done immediately. So for that, this council of ministers take a lot of time to decide on things. So those things will be pending. So for that sake, he said, the wise people say that certain urgent things have to be taken care immediately. So for that, if you sit with the council of ministers, it will be delayed. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. So they say that in order to do certain thing which has to be done at the right time, people should know the future. Okay, so in order to do the right thing, they should know the future. And only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to the magicians. So some wise people said that in order to do the right thing at the right time, so they should know what is the future of that. So in order to know the future of that, some people, some wise men said that it is magicians who can tell the future. And therefore finally the king had to go to the magicians. Now in their answers to the second question. Now first question is over. Now first question, he has acquired some answers from the different wise people. Now coming to the second question. So before we go to the second question, what is the second question? See here, which people should he listen to? That means to whom the king has to listen to. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said the priest. A few others chose the doctors, and yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. So here some said that, so to whom he has to listen is, some wise people said that he has to listen to the counselors. Counselors means members of the council. So he should listen to them. So some others said that the king should listen to the priest. And some other wise people, they said that he should listen to the soldiers. So even these answers are also different. Now to the third question, some said science, others chose fighting, and yet others religious worship. So what is the third question, children, here? What is the most important thing for him to do it? So what is the important thing for the king to do it? So for that, they said that science it seems is the very important thing to do it. And others chose fighting is the important thing for the king to do it. Maybe probably he will be fighting with the other kingdom and in order to gain the kingdom. So it is their opinion, it is the opinion of those wise people, and in that way they have given it. And yet others religious worship. Others said that he has to do a lot of religious worshipping, he has to do it. Okay. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. So here he has called so many wise people, and for his questions he got different answers. So he was not at all satisfied with those answers. So whatever the reward which he wanted to give, he did not give any reward to anyone because he was not satisfied with the answers. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Now let us see who is this hermit. Hermit is a person who lives alone and leads a simple life. So here this hermit, so he wanted to go to a hermit, and he came to know that this hermit is a very wise person, and he thought that maybe this hermit can give him the correct answers for his questions. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. So this hermit was well known for his wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge. The hermit lived in a wood. Wood means forest. Wood refers to forest. So this hermit, he lived in a wood. He lived in a forest, which he never left. So that means this hermit did not leave the forest. He lived in the forest only. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. So what happened? He saw no one but simple people. He saw refers to the hermit. The hermit allowed, or the hermit saw people who were simple and who comes to his hut. Okay, so this king wanted to meet hermit. So in order to meet the hermit, he came with one of his bodyguard. And as he know that this hermit will see only simple people, he has changed that the king's costume, that clothes, and he wore a simple clothes, and he left his, he asked the bodyguard to be there, and also he got down from the horse and he came to the hut. Okay. In an ordinary clothes he has come. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. So all alone, this king went in an ordinary clothes to hermit's hut. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. So when he came near to the hut, he saw that hermit was digging the ground. Okay. Ground is the earth. He was digging it. He greeted the king and continued digging. Greeted the king means, does the hermit know that he was the king? No. So whoever comes, it is his good quality. Whoever comes, he greets them. He greeted him, and then again this hermit started digging the earth. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. So this hermit was very old and also very weak also. And when he was digging, he has to take a long breath, and he was not able to take breath properly, or he was taking a heavy breath. Okay. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. So the king went to the hermit and he said that I came here, I wanted to know the answer for 3 questions. How can, now he started saying the questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at right time? So he said that his first question is, how can I learn to do the right thing at right time? And who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? So what are the important affairs? So he started asking one after the other, all the 3 questions he asked hermit. Now let us see how the hermit answers him. The hermit listened to the king, but did not speak. He went on digging. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. So now the hermit, he listened to the king. He listened to all his questions. And after listening, he did not give any reply to the king. And he started digging. So now the king thought that probably this hermit is little bit weak and old. So let me take his work, and he asked him to give the spade, and he started doing his work. So when he starts doing his work, he thought that hermit at the time when he will sit quietly there, and he might be answering the questions what he has asked. He thought. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat on the ground. So now the hermit was taking a bit rest. He sat on the ground and he said thanks to the king. And the king he took the spade from him. When the king had to dig 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his question. Sorry, when the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. So 2 beds refers to the earth, whatever the ground which is there, that he will be digging it in order to sow some seeds. So after digging 2 beds, then immediately he asked the questions. He repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade and said, "Now you rest and let me work." So hermit, he did not answer the questions again asked, again which were repeated by the king. He did not answer them. So without answering them, he said, "Now give the spade. You take rest and I will continue the work." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. So king did not give the spade to the hermit. He continued digging the earth. He continued to make the beds. 1 hour passed, then another. So 1 hour over. 1 hour continuously the king was doing the work. So 1 hour has passed, then another hour also over. Then the sun went down behind the trees. That means it is almost becoming dark. And at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, stuck the spade means he dug the spade. At last he wanted to know the answers. So he stuck the means he dug that spade to the ground. Immediately with the force he has kept it there, and then he spoke and said, "I came to you, wise man." Wise man here refers to hermit. I refers to king. King says that I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. So here he says that, king says that I came here. I wanted to know answer for my 3 questions. So if you are not able to answer my 3 questions, you tell me. I will go off from here. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. So the hermit says to the king that someone was coming towards his hut. And here ends part 1. And in part 2, we'll see who is that man coming towards the hermit's hut. Did that man come for the king or the hermit? And whether this king will be able to know the answer for his 3 questions in part 2 or not. We'll see all this in our next video. Thank you, children.